Okay, this is a surprise, impromptu, very unexpected Valentine's Day episode of Pulling Threads, where clips will also be played on TikTok and Instagram. I tried something new on Instagram and TikTok and announced that I would be taking questions about love because it's Valentine's today. So I'm filming this on Valentine's Day. I made the announcement the day before, Friday the 13th, not really knowing if anyone would ask any questions. And we did get about 10, which is good. I have an okay following on those two platforms, but it's brave to ask love questions. They had similar themes to one another, so I picked 5. And I, as a therapist and a coach and a person who's gone through a divorce and actually is with someone who, when we started dating, was a pretty severe dismissive avoidant, and I probably came in securely but anxious and had a history of anxious attachment. And we're still together at 2.5 years and very securely attached. So I wanted to answer some questions and see if I can help somebody with their Valentine's Day love questions. So we got some interesting ones, and I picked 5. And I have to say, the people are very high level. These are all clearly people who are already doing some work and they've studied themselves, which is really cool. So, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and put all 5 here, and then I'll probably put clips on social media because that's where I made the announcement. And I really didn't expect to put it here in Pulling Threads, but it's kind of fun. So, here we go. I'm answering the question, and I sought out the perspective of a male coach who considers himself a reformed player. Okay, so this is a male in the coaching space who doesn't want to be named. But I sent the questions to him, and he, without consulting me, answered from his perspective, and I'm going to answer you from mine. So he is not a therapist, but he is a transformational coach. Okay, first question. Why do I push away everyone who gets close to me? I am a female and 28 years old. I've been in therapy and learned that I have an avoidant attachment style, but knowing it doesn't seem to help. Every time someone shows genuine interest and wants to get serious, I find reasons they're not right or suddenly feel suffocated. How do I stop self-sabotaging when deep down I do want a real relationship? Okay. So first I'm going to read you the reformed player coach and his response. Here's his response. I'm going to be blunt because I was you, just the male version. I spent years perfecting the art of keeping people at arm's length while making them think they had a chance. You know what the difference is between you and old me? You actually want to change, and I didn't. Here's what I learned. You're not self-sabotaging randomly. You're protecting yourself from a threat that probably isn't even there anymore. I used to bounce the second a woman showed real feelings because vulnerability felt like weakness. In The Game, a book I referred to for dating advice, we literally had tactics for this. Freeze outs were called creating distance to maintain power. The shift for me came when I realized I wasn't powerful. I was terrified. And all my tactics just kept me lonely. My advice? Stop trying to logic your way out of an emotional wound. Knowing you're avoidant is one step, but healing happens in relationship, not in your head. Find someone patient enough to let you freak out and come back and give you space. Set small vulnerability goals. Share one uncomfortable truth per week. Feel the panic, don't run. See that you survive it. And get a therapist who calls you on your BS. Knowing your patterns isn't the same as changing them. Okay? That's what the male coach said. Interesting. I have a different opinion, but don't totally disagree with everything that the coach said. So I'm going to give you my take on this as someone who has been in a relationship with someone who was an avoidant. Maybe not the same. Let me see. She doesn't say if she's fearful avoidant or if she's a dismissive avoidant. So, as someone who was in a relationship with a former dismissive avoidant, I can tell you that awareness is actually a huge, huge step. And the fact that you have it is going to help you on this journey. But you're right, it's not enough on its own. So also what the other coach said about your protecting, that's your nervous system. Like it's stuck in a protective pattern. It once kept you safe, very safe, probably in your childhood, because there were probably inconsistencies and inconsistent caregivers that made that necessary. So now when someone gets close, your brain perceives that threat, even though logically you know that you're perfectly safe. So the key insight here is that you don't push people away because they're wrong for you. You push them away because they're getting right. So intimacy itself is triggering this old wound and your system goes into defense mode. Here's what actually works though. You need to rewire through experience, not just insight. This means that finding a partner who understands your attachment and won't take it personally, and won't take it personally when you withdraw, that's essential. So practicing like coming back to the relationship, taking space and coming back, taking space and coming back. When you feel the urge to run, you're going to have to learn to communicate it that it's a reaction, not what you really want. That could look like saying something like, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I need space, but I'm not leaving. Okay, that's important. It's important to reassure the other person you're not leaving. Working with a trauma-informed therapist on some somatic regulation in your body could be so helpful for you. The pattern can change and your brain can be rewired, but it requires doing like a really scary thing. And that is to stay present through this discomfort that comes up for you with someone who's safe. So first you have to find someone who's safe to do that with. My partner had to learn this, and watching him soften into security has been a beautiful transformation. But there were certainly times when it was also feeling exhausting. Wishing you all the best. Thank you for your question and sending you lots of love. All right, next question. Let me just get my little iPad out here. Okay, number 2. Are we incompatible or am I overthinking? This is from a man, and he is 31 years old. My girlfriend's love language is quality time. See, these people are like, they've studied. My viewers, you're impressing me. Okay, girlfriend's love language is quality time, but mine is physical touch, of course. She gets upset when I'm on my phone during dinner, but I feel disconnected when she pulls away when I try to be affectionate. We love each other, but speak completely different languages. Can this actually work long term, or are we just delaying the inevitable? Okay, I'm holding my opinions in. I'm going to read what my counterpart reformed player coach said. He said, here's the thing about love languages. They're real, but guys also use them as an excuse. I'm going to be honest with you. If a dude is on his phone during dinner, it's not about his love language. That's just disrespect wrapped in therapy speak. I used to do this exact thing. I'd half listen to a woman while scrolling because I wanted the connection on my terms only. Physical touch was my language because it was the only thing that didn't require emotional presence. Okay. Sex is easy. Deep conversation where I put my phone down and actually see you, threatening. The real question isn't, can different love languages work? They absolutely can. The question is he actually trying? When she pulls away from affection because she feels unseen, does he get curious about why? Or does he get defensive? Here's your test. Tell him, I need you to put your phone away during our meals together. I feel like the coach kind of went at it from the woman's perspective, but it's okay. Because that's how I feel loved and connected. If he adjusts, you have compatibility. If he argues, you need to adjust to him and his need for touch. You have a guy who's still selfish. Compatibility isn't about matching perfectly. It's about both people being willing to speak each other's language, even when it's not natural to them. Okay? I'm going to give you my response. I love love languages, and I love thinking about the way that we interact with our loved one, our partner, in that framework. But they can become a trap if we use them as a fixed identity instead of a preference that we can learn to expand upon. The real issue here isn't quality time versus physical touch. It's whether both of you are willing to step out of your comfort zone for each other, which is kind of what the coach was trying to say. What I'm hearing in your question is a pattern where you both are waiting for the other person to speak your language first. You want her to give in to physical touch, and she wants you to give in to quality time. And you're almost like in a standoff instead of trying to please one another and make each other happy. In healthy relationships, secure partners will learn to give whatever their partner needs first, which then creates a feeling of safety for both people to get their needs met. This is called bidding. You make bids for connection, and your partner either turns toward it, away from it, or against the bids. Phone during dinner is a turn away, 100%. Pulling back from affection is also a turn away. You're both bidding and you're both rejecting each other's bids. That's the real issue. I recommend trying for a week where you initiate the quality time that she wants and see if it softens her enough to make her present. And then if she responds positively, then see if the physical affection starts showing up. If one or the other of you doesn't give back, then you have an incompatibility of emotional maturity, not of love languages. The relationship my partner and I have works because we both learned each other's languages, and it wasn't necessarily natural at first, but love is a practice. It's not a personality match, and it's not a love language match either. Wishing you the best of luck, but try bidding by giving her what she needs to, and then see if you get what you need back. Hope that helps. Sending you lots of love. All right, next question. Question number 3. Oh, I love this one. Should I believe in astrology compatibility? I'm a Scorpio, and I've been seeing this Gemini guy for 3 months. Everything feels perfect, but literally everyone, including 3 different astrology accounts I follow, says Scorpio and Gemini is one of the worst matches. Part of me thinks it's nonsense, but part of me is scared that they're right. Do I end something good because the stars say so? I have such non-therapeutic feelings about this. Okay. The Reform Player Coach says, okay, so here's where I'm going to sound like a complete hypocrite, but stay with me. Logically, I know astrology is pseudoscience. I know there's no rational reason why the month someone was born should determine relationship compatibility. But here's the thing. In my years of dating dozens of women, that's an understatement, I think, I've seen the patterns play out too consistently to ignore. I don't date certain signs anymore. Not because I'm superstitious, but because every single time I've ignored the bad match warnings, it turned into exactly the dysfunction astrology predicted. Gemini woman as a Scorpio ended in her needing constant variety while I needed depth and loyalty. Textbook. Aquarius, she was so emotionally detached, I felt like I was chasing a ghost. Now, is it the stars, or is it that certain personality traits cluster around certain signs and those traits genuinely don't mesh? I don't know. What I do know is that since I started paying attention to it as a filter, I've avoided a lot of heartache. Here's my take on your situation. You're a Scorpio with a Gemini. The warnings exist for a reason. Scorpios need intensity, loyalty, and depth. Geminis need freedom, variety, and lightness. Those aren't just different, they're often opposite needs. But, and this is important, if the chemistry is real and you're both willing to work with your differences instead of against them, it can work. The question is, are you already seeing the predicted issues show up? Is he flighty when you need consistency? Does your intensity feel suffocating to him? Don't ignore the astrology as total nonsense, but don't let it override what's actually happening. Use it as a roadmap of potential pitfalls to watch for. If you're seeing those patterns emerge, trust the warning. If you're not seeing them after 3 months, maybe you're the exception. Okay? All right. And I have my feelings about this. Also know that this is not that it is considered pseudoscience. But I would say I have like a nuanced relationship with astrology. Clinically, I know it's not scientifically valid through most people's opinions, but experientially, I've also seen enough correlations to use it as a loose guide, kind of like a personality assessment. It's not gospel, but it's useful information. So here's my framework. Astrology can highlight potential areas of friction based on general personality tendencies. Scorpios often crave emotional intensity and loyalty. Geminis often value independence and are intellectual. Those are very, very different relational styles. And yes, they can create challenges, but this is crucial. Astrology describes tendencies, not destinies. I've seen perfect match couples fail miserably because they didn't do the work. And I've seen terrible matched couples thrive because they were both committed to understanding and accommodating their differences. What I tell my clients is if they like astrology, use it as a curiosity tool, but not as a decision-making tool. If an article says Scorpio and Gemini struggle with trust and communication, don't end the relationship, but do pay attention to whether those issues are actually showing up. Use it as a lens to understand potential blind spots. For example, if you know Geminis tend to need more social freedom, you can work on not interpreting their need for friend time as a rejection. If he knows that Scorpios need reassurance and depth, he can work on being more emotionally available, even when it doesn't come naturally. So my advice is to give it 3 more months, observe where the predicted incompatibilities actually show up and manifest, or whether the two of you have found a way to balance your differences. If you're constantly fighting about intensity versus freedom, loyalty versus independence, the astrology might be pointing to something real. But if you're not experiencing those issues, then you're either both more involved in the sun signs or your moon and rising signs are more compatible with one another, or the chemistry is just creating its own compatibility. But don't let astrology make your decision. And also don't ignore it as a complete nonsense either. It's data. not destiny. Hope that helps. All right, question number 4. Guys, we are ready for number 4. This question, I hear it all the time. And I guess I'll wait until we get to my response, but I'm going to read the question first. How long is too long to wait for someone to commit? This is from a female who's 33. We've been casually dating for 8 months. He says he's not ready for labels, but acts like my boyfriend. We're exclusive, spend weekends together. He's met my friends. When I bring up commitment, he says he needs more time. I don't want to give an ultimatum, but I also don't want to waste my time. How do I know when to walk away? Okay, the male coach is saying, oh man, I was this guy for years. Let me translate what I'm not ready for labels actually means. It means I like the benefits of having you, but I want to keep my options open. I'm going to tell you exactly what I used to do because you need to hear this. I would keep women in this situationship gray zone for as long as they'd tolerate it. Why? Because I got all the perks of the relationship, sex, companionship, emotional support, without any accountability or having to actually work on myself. I need more time is the player's oldest stall tactic. We used it in the game, keep her invested but never committed. The truth, if a man wants you, he claims you. 8 months is more than enough time to know if you want to be with someone. Here's the hard truth. You already know the answer, which is why you're asking. You're hoping someone will tell you to wait longer because leaving feels scary. But you're not waiting for him to be ready. You're waiting for permission to have standards. The man I am now, I knew within weeks I wanted my partner exclusively. Not because I was suddenly ready, but because she was worth becoming ready for. This guy isn't becoming ready for you. He's becoming comfortable keeping you in limbo. My advice, stop asking for commitment, state your needs, and walk if they're not met. I'm looking for a committed relationship. If you're not able to offer that, I need to explore other options. Then actually do it. You'll either get clarity really fast or you'll open space for someone who doesn't need 8 months to decide you're worth it. Okay? Okay. Like I said, this is definitely one of the most frequently asked questions that I see in groups online as well as in my practice. And I do want to validate how confusing this is. He's giving you enough to keep you hopeful, and it feels like a relationship, but it's not enough to feel secure. So hopeful but not secure does keep you in limbo. It's called breadcrumbing, and you already know that. And it can be emotionally exhausting, which is why you're asking and why so many others ask. You're not being too much by asking. Here's what I know from working with couples. When someone is truly unavailable for commitment, it's not about you and it's not about timing. It's about their unresolved issues. So I would ask if your boyfriend or situationship is dealing with any unresolved issues, or is he in therapy? Is he open to doing any kind of healing work? Because you waiting patiently won't heal those issues. You'll just keep waiting if he's not doing the work. In fact, you're almost enabling them to avoid doing the work that they need to do. So the question is, how long should I wait? That's your question. The question you should be asking is, why am I willing to accept a relationship that doesn't meet my needs? Okay? So this is where I want you to do your inner work. This is where, in my experience, with especially narcissistic relationships, there's some relevance. I know they tend to keep people in a state of uncertainty for years, and their partners typically make excuses for them because they need time. But what I've learned from watching people in these situations is that People who genuinely care about you don't ask you to suppress your needs indefinitely. They don't put you on pause or keep you in limbo. You mentioned not wanting to give an ultimatum, but let's reframe that. Boundaries are not ultimatums, they're self-respect. An ultimatum is manipulation. Commit or I'll hurt myself. A boundary is clarity. I need commitment to continue. If you can't provide that, I need to move on for my own well-being, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for commitment. After 8 months, you're allowed to know where you stand. And if where you stand is in permanent uncertainty, that is your answer. Partners can be avoidant when you meet, but they can also lean into the discomfort to build something real. That's possible. That's what people do when they want you. Don't settle for someone who wants the comfort of your presence without the courage to commit to you. I know that's all hard to hear. It's not what you want to hear. But if you are unhappy in your current situation and you need more, then you need to feel, and you should feel, safe to say so in your relationship. All right, moving on to question 5. The question is anxious avoidant attachment a death sentence? This is from a 29-year-old female. I'm anxiously attached and just found out the man I'm falling for is avoidant. Every article and post that I read says this pairing is toxic and will just trigger each other into endless cycles. But we have amazing chemistry, and I've never felt this way about anyone. Are we doomed, or can two people with opposite attachment styles actually make it work? I love this question. I've been there. The coach says, all right, I'm literally the avoidant guy in this scenario. So let me give you the real talk from his side of the fence. Yes, anxious avoidant pairings are hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat. When I first got with my partner who's anxiously attached, I wanted to run every other day. Her need for reassurance felt suffocating. Her text felt like demands. Her wanting to talk about us made me want to fake my own death. Very dramatic. But here's what every article misses. Avoidant men are attracted to anxious women for a reason. You're warm, emotionally expressive, and relationship focused. Everything we're terrified of, but secretly crave. The chemistry you're feeling, he's feeling it too. That's why this is scary for him. The question isn't whether you'll trigger each other. You absolutely will. The question is he willing to work on himself, or is he just going to keep running and expect you to chase? Here's what changed for me. I met a woman who refused to play the chase game. When I pulled away, she didn't anxiously pursue. She calmly said, I'm here when you're ready. But I'm not shrinking my needs to manage your fear. That scared the shit out of me, but it also woke me up. I realized I could keep running and stay lonely, or I could lean into the discomfort and actually build something. My advice, don't try to fix him or manage his avoidance by being less anxious. That's not healing, that's codependency. Instead, be honest about your needs. If he steps up and does the work, you've got a shot. If he uses his avoidance as an excuse to keep you at arm's length indefinitely, walk away. And then real talk, you need to work on your anxious attachment too. He can't be your sole source of insecurity. Get yourself to therapy, build a life outside the relationship, and learn to self-soothe. This only works if both people grow towards security. Can it work? Yes. Will it be easy? Hell no. Is he worth the work? Only you can answer that. Okay, Coach did a really good job with that one. I love that response. So I'm going to give my response, but I also agree with everything that the reformed player coach said. So good job, buddy. As the anxiously attached partner in an anxious avoidant relationship, I can tell you with certainty that this is not a death sentence, but it is a choice. And it's a choice to do hard work together and separate. First, I want to validate your fear because the articles and the Instagram posts and the YouTube videos aren't wrong about the dynamic, and they're everywhere in social media and everywhere that you're searching. And most of them are going to have a negative outcome. That's because anxious avoidant couples do get stuck in painful cycles. You reach for connection, he withdraws. His withdrawal triggers your abandonment wounds, so you reach harder. Your intensity triggers all of his engulfment fears. Engulfment fears means he doesn't want to lose his independence, so he pulls back more. Without awareness, this becomes a self-perpetuating trap and a cycle, like you've heard about. But here's what I've learned, both clinically and personally. Attachment styles are adaptive. They're not fixed, even though many people will say that they are. They're strategies that we develop to survive early in relationships, early in childhood. And they can change with new corrective experiences. So what makes this pairing work is that both people have to be aware and committed to growth. I had to learn that my anxiety wasn't about him. It was about old wounds being triggered, abandonment wounds in me. He had to learn that his need for space wasn't about me being too much. It was about his fear of vulnerability, losing independence, and also abandonment. We both needed individual therapy. And as a matter of fact, we went to couples therapy, and she told us we needed individual therapy. I was already in therapy, but I wasn't targeting it towards my abandonment wounds. Communication has to become explicit. I learned to say, I'm feeling X. Maybe it was anxious, or I'm starting to feel anxious. I need reassurance. So I said how I felt and what I needed instead of creating tests or drama or telling myself a story. I also learned to say to him, I'm telling myself a story of this, and I need you to reassure me that that's not what's happening. He learned to say, I need space to process, but I'm not leaving. And that calmed my nervous system instead of him just disappearing. This interrupts that unconscious dance or cycle that neither one of us wanted to be in. So you have to work on your side as the anxious partner, and you can't wait for him to make you feel secure. You have to build your own internal security through therapy, friendships, hobbies, self-soothing practices, whatever it takes. If your entire emotional well-being depends on his availability, you'll be anxious regardless of what he does. He has to work on his side. He needs to practice staying present when uncomfortable, communicating instead of withdrawing, and challenging the fear that he has that intimacy is going to equal loss of self. If he's not willing to do this work, it won't matter how much you try and how much work you do. The chemistry you're feeling is real, and it can be the foundation for something beautiful, but only if you both commit to healing. This relationship can either reinforce your old wounds or become the place where you heal them. The choice is yours together. Are you doomed? Only if you stay unconscious. Are you guaranteed success? Only if you both do the work. And it's hard work. But can it work? Absolutely. I am living proof. This was fun and serious. Way more serious than I thought it was going to be. I hope anybody who tuned in learned something, and maybe we can do more questions like this in the future. Thank you for everybody who wrote in. Wishing you all the best. Happy Valentine's Day.